Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Welcome to Inspiring Leaders. I'm Donna Chandler Newman, your host for our show, and thank you for watching our program. Through this show, we meet community leaders and we examine how they're using their unique talents and skill sets to make a difference. And through our discussions, we hope to inspire others to discover and to share their own leadership abilities for the overall betterment of our community. Now, today's show is about an organization that helps people help themselves. And what I mean by this is this organization doesn't give a man or a woman a fish, but instead they teach them to fish for themselves. Now that's an inspirational approach for sure. In fact, their website address says it all, whyhopeworks.org. In this first portion of our show, we'll meet Ron Wade, Executive Director of HopeWorks. In our second segment of our show, we'll continue visiting with Ron and we'll be joined by Purcell Duquette, a member of their board of directors. Before we get to our interviews, however, let's take a moment and hear GHS-TV reporter Linda Razazzi and videographer Wolfgang Stolz, and they had the chance to attend a special HopeWorks ceremony that marked the beginning for more than 36 people. Let's take a look at some footage now.
All y'all who came for me tonight, because y'all know I've been trying so hard to do this.
HopeWorks is in the business of giving second chances. And at a recent graduation, more than 30 people got their chance to start over.
Well, HopeWorks is one of the ministries or organizations in the city that's truly changing people's lives.
The nonprofit organization strives to serve the under-resourced through outreach programs, redirecting people down a more positive path.
I think it's the best program they have in Memphis to help people, to give people second chances out of prison, out on the street.
I think this program, HopeWorks, has impacted the students in one word, and that word is transformational.
Over 14 weeks, these graduates were exposed to daily classes, educational training, and spiritual counseling. They learned important skills such as applying for a job and maintaining a sustainable life.
It felt good to walk across the stage and, be known as something positive instead of being known as something negative, and help my little brother and my little sister out.
So one of the things we do to transform lives is to provide a high school equivalency diploma.
These HopeWorks graduates have experienced many obstacles today in hopes for that second chance, displaying their perseverance for a better life.
I'm an ex-felon. I have one degree, working on another degree, and so I'm able to show them that every day, that look, I was there where you at, and you can be where you think I'm at.
Starting off on a clean slate encourages students to step forward into their newly transformed lives, providing them with a sense of hope.
The name of it, hope. That's what it means to me. It gave me hope. It gave me hope to get back on my feet, walk out of here with my head held high, and be proud of myself.
Some God, our God is an awesome God.
Wow. What an inspirational piece. Well, joining us now is Ron Wade, Executive Director of HopeWorks, to talk more about your program. Welcome, Ron.
Thanks, Donna. Great to be here.
I'm so glad that you're with us today. Now, Ron, I know you have an extensive business and corporate background, but tell us, you've been involved with HopeWorks for a little while. Tell us how long and how you became involved with HopeWorks.
Well, Donna, I'm a native Memphian. I spent most of my adult career in sales, and so a little over 30 years with a company called R.R. Donnelly. And from that, in engaging with different businesses and making sales calls, just felt like I wanted a change. I'd kind of been there and done that, and so HopeWorks allowed me the opportunity to help people help themselves through a business relationship.
Absolutely. But how did you become acquainted with HopeWorks, though? I mean, that's an interesting story.
Well, HopeWorks actually has been around for quite a while. It's been under the radar. 27 years HopeWorks has been involved, and just like you mentioned before, it's helping people to fish rather than providing a fish daily. And so actually it's patterned out of a program in Brooklyn, New York called the HOPE program. And it actually helps people help themselves, and we put a faith component into it, so we're a faith-based helping program.
But you're more specific than that. Tell us a little bit about the specific mission of HopeWorks and who you help.
Well, we provide hope and transform lives, and actually we help people who have had a hard time getting a job. They've had barriers in front of them, and that barrier could have been by something they've done themselves. For example, having a criminal background, and so it's difficult to get a job if you have that baggage. The other issue is not having a high school diploma. And so it's real difficult to get a job if you don't have a high school diploma either. And then I guess the third barrier might be just never having seen a good example of getting up and going to work in the morning. So we take all three of those and we try to provide job training, motivation to have the idea that if you work, you're going to feel better about yourself, you're going to provide for your family, and kind of get off of some other assistance that is provided by government or charities or other people.
The program itself also concentrates to a large degree, I would guess, on people who've been released from prison who may not have a high school diploma. And there's a term you told me, recidivism.
Right.
Talk about recidivism and how your program cuts that down.
Okay. Well, recidivism is a term that you hear nationally, and simply put, if you're incarcerated and you get out and you're trying to make a living for yourself and put that in the past, but then for some reason you decide to commit a crime again, then you go back to prison. And so it's really difficult. You see all kind of numbers. Nationally, I've seen things high as 60, 70%.
Ouch.
On a local basis, it's probably averaging about that as well. So what we do is try to help the individual who's been incarcerated to build them up so they can have enough confidence to do the job. And then we work with employers to give someone we call them returning citizens, have them, give them second chances and try to make that fit. So it's a major piece that's a national problem, a state problem, and even locally in Shelby County, there's an effort to really help people that are incarcerated to get back to returning citizens.
Well, I would think so. I know you had shared some numbers with me. If somebody's in prison, what it costs us to be there. So there's really a financial impact on the county, a positive one, from your program. Talk about that.
Well, it is. In fact, Christian Brothers University did a study not too long ago. It was through their MBA program. And they identified it would be well over $1 million that we would be helping the city. And when you break that down, let's just use round numbers. If it costs $25,000 to incarcerate someone, to pay for that on a yearly basis, and then when they get out of prison, if you could get them an entry-level job, let's say $20,000, well, if you add those together, that's a $45,000 swing.
It is.
And if you do that 10 times, just for 10 individuals, you're almost at $500,000 just for 10 people.
Wow.
So it's a tremendous benefit financially for the city, for the county, to help people not go back to prison and help them get employment.
And beyond, and then there's of course the social aspect of that as well, what that does for our society to bring people and help them find a way beyond a life of crime as well. So talk about what you teach the students exactly, and how do you do that?
Okay. Well, one of the first things we do is try to build the students' self-esteem up. And in fact, one of our senior instructors, Laura Harrison, she always reminds me, she said, Ron, the best thing we do is build self-esteem. Now, we do a lot of other things in addition to that. But one of the first days is we create what we call a life map. And that's just a pictorial graph on a flip chart that says this is where I have been and where I'm at to this point. And so if I think that everything has been downhill slide for me and I'm willing to share that story, when I hear your story and another 20 people in our group story, then maybe I'm not the only one that's been a problem. So by sharing it and building camaraderie, we're able to have a sense of community together and try to grow together and really stay in the program. The program itself involves counseling, involves computer training, involves an internship, which is actually trying to go and practice the career path that you're involved with. We have mentors assigned to each one of the students. And so it's a lot of things together. And the program is free for any individual. It's free in the sense it doesn't cost them anything financially, but we put some responsibility on them. And those are basically three things. One, you have to have good attendance. So we have a time clock that we punch every time. If you miss too many days, we'll cut you. Because you can't go to any job and just be late all the time.
That's exactly right.
And the second thing we do is random drug tests. And so we'll find out that a lot of employers will do that as well. So if you're not able to adhere to that, and then just basic motivation, that we want to see you working. We don't want to work harder than you are, but if you'll work, then we'll stay with you and some good things will happen, at the end.
I'm sitting here thinking there's great benefit for your students. There's also great benefit for the corporations. They are giving a second chance, but I would think the person coming out of your program is very willing to work very hard. Is that?
Well, they are. They're absolutely willing and motivated to get a job and feel real good about that. However, even though they get out and are hired, there still are some barriers. One of those barriers is transportation, for example, and another one is child care. And then as we continue to go through that, even language. We're a real advocate of the Ruby Payne Bridges Out of Poverty, where you just talk about different hidden rules to know how to work from generational poverty into middle class. So we try to teach those from the student level. But then we're doing one thing different. We're going to employers and we're saying, okay, we think that there are some hidden rules that you may not know as well when you hire someone coming out of generational poverty or coming out of prison. And so we're going to help you learn those if you're willing to do that. And in return, it'll reduce your turnover rate.
Oh, that's a big expense.
So it's really a win-win in a lot of areas.
Well, one of the things that I think you've done differently in the last year here is where you teach your students. Tell me, isn't there a new venue that you're teaching in now? Tell me about that.
Well, it is, and since we've been talking about prison, let me mention one thing about prison and then talk about adult education in terms of locations. But because recidivism is such a major issue, we've been granted the opportunity to go actually inside the Shelby County Correction Center, and most Memphians would know that as the penal farm. So we're bringing our HopeWorks, our 14-week program with all the components to it inside while the inmates are still incarcerated. And in doing that, they'll be able to actually choose a career path. When they get out, then we'll be able to have interviews set up. And there's a couple of people through the Shelby County Correction System that's really make that happen. Director Bill Gupton, Patricia Melton, and Phyllis Fickling. All of those are really hands-on, and they want to see this pilot work. So we think that will be a significant part. And regarding adult education, we're going to do that actually in the Correction Center as well. Surprisingly, over 80% of men and women that are incarcerated do not have a high school diploma. So we're going to select those that do not and do the adult education piece there.
That's amazing.
We're in 5 locations throughout the city, also in adult education.
You're bringing a great benefit to the city overall. Okay, I want you to stay right here. We're going to be joined by one of your board members, but stay here and let's talk some more about HopeWorks.
Okay.
We're going to pause now for a short break, and when we return, we'll continue talking with Ron. We'll be joined by Purcell Duquette, a member of their board of directors, as we continue learning more about HopeWorks.
Everybody needs a helping hand. Take a look at your fellow man and tell me what can I do today.
Hey, let me get that for you.
Everybody needs a helping out. If that ain't what it's all about, tell me what.
Thank you, young man.
What can I
No problem.
What can I do today?
Courtesy. Pass it on.
I got it.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit ghstv.org today.
Welcome back. We're pleased to continue our discussion with Ron Wade, Executive Director of HopeWorks, and to be joined by Purcell Duquette, a member of their board of directors. Welcome. Thank you so much for staying with us, Ron, and welcome, Purcell. I'm glad to see you today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, okay, so I know that this is a volunteer position for you.
Yes.
And that you're retired from the Department of Transportation?
That's correct.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
So tell me this. I know you do a lot of volunteer work now in your retirement. God love you. How in the world did you get involved with HopeWorks, and why choose to work with HopeWorks?
I got involved with HopeWorks as a result of my church activities. I was exposed to it. Began to work for, really, I guess, with Ron, as opposed to for Ron, as a faith encourager. And my whole reason for wanting to do it was the idea about being able to help people, to get from a point where they're being basically non-productive to a point where they can be productive. As Ron had mentioned earlier about the people who are involved in the program, they're looking for hope. And the whole concept about hope works. And we think about the reason, well, why does hope work? Because hope becomes our motivation. And I want to make sure that I was in a position to provide the encouragement and the mentorship, if you will, from some of those people.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful. It really is. I've always loved that their website is called Why Hope Works. I love that. It's very inspirational. That it's a wonderful, wonderful cause. You're a member of the board of directors. How many people are on the board in all?
We have 8 members on the board at this point.
Well, gracious, what does the board do exactly? What are their responsibilities?
Well, the board's involved in really all facets of it. In fact, they are really responsible for hiring and firing an executive director. They're responsible to the state of Tennessee for all physical responsibilities. But more than that, our board's really good. They're hands-on, like Percell, for example. He's right involved with the students. We have a breakfast, fundraising breakfasts, and a golf tournament. So they're pretty engaged. We have a nurse, for example. She comes and does blood pressure for our students and gives some health activities that for them to do. So they're pretty engaged.
So they're hands-on as well as the traditional role of raising money for an organization.
Right.
Both. So that's really something, isn't it? I'm going to talk about that breakfast in a minute with you.
Okay.
But you've already mentioned a term that I don't know that everybody's familiar with. I know it was new to me, and that's faith encourager. Tell me, what's a faith encourager, Percell?
A faith encourager is one who serves to give the students, if you will, a little bit of encouragement. Ron had mentioned once about a faith element to this whole process. And that's what we do. We come in, and let me explain to you one of the things that happens with me and all the people I work with. We go back to initially that we're going to make commitments. I'm going to make a commitment to that person. They're going to make a commitment to me. I think that's very important. If you learn how to be responsible, accountable, keeping your word, if you will, that goes a long way. One of the things I always mention to these people is this. I'm going to commit to this. Every week, I'm going to be praying with you. On a daily basis, I'm going to pray for you. And before I leave each session, I normally go on Mondays. We have prayer. And the whole point about prayer, again, goes back to this whole concept about faith working.
Exactly.
We all have to have a belief that there's something greater than we are. Otherwise, why go on?
Right.
And that's my whole point with the student, is that we all come with a history. But what is your history? Your history is what you've done. Doesn't define where you're going to go, but it does tell us about what you have done. They need to see examples of people who have had some of the same issues in life that they have, yet they've overcome those things. I talk to them about, share with me your history, and I do that for a reason. I don't want them to have this thing that stands between us about, well, I'm ashamed about what I did. I don't want you to be proud of it, but tell it because we know it exists. Now, how do we overcome it? The idea about it being a faith encourager.
So basically, own your story, and now where do we go from here, right?
That's exactly right.
Well, that's a beautiful sentiment. That's highly inspirational and motivational. How many people actually do you work with at a time?
One at a time.
One at a time?
One at a time.
I bet you don't lose touch with any of them, though, do you?
Some, unfortunately. The very first ones, unfortunately, I have to say I've forgotten. There have been too many.
Oh.
The recent ones we try to stay in contact with. One of the things we're doing now in the program is trying to establish a means of follow-up. It's very important. Ron mentioned about this whole concept when people get out of a situation, they go through the training, for various reasons, sometimes they fall back. Yeah. We all slip up. HopeWorks means getting not only a second chance, a third, fourth, and sometimes a fifth chance. But you got to have someone there who's aware of what you're going through to be a source of encouragement for you. The whole idea about being a faith encourager goes beyond what happens during a 15-week cycle, if you will. But I need someone there when I'm having problems to talk to me. Not to fix the problems for me, but to help me get through them.
So there's a lot more faith encouragers than there are people on the board, I would think. I would think you have many more volunteers than that.
The whole concept about the faith encouragers, they come from various faith-based organizations. These are people who are willing to come in and give of their time, to give of their own experiences also as a point of helping them to get through things.
But it is a 15-week program, and so I'm sure to do the program and to do it in the various sites you were talking about has a price tag. And so part of the job of the board is to raise money. Talk about some of the ways that you raise money.
The biggest thing I think right now for me has to do with the breakfast that we do. Okay? Which is great. Let me give you one quick example. Last year, we had a young lady that you would love to meet. Her name is Lucille O'Neill, the mother of Shaq O'Neal.
Oh, my goodness.
How'd that sound to you? Prior to that, we had another young man you would like to meet. His name is Dr. Carson.
Oh,
yes, the same one who's running for the Republican nominee for president.
My goodness gracious, he's been on your... Oh, wow. Okay, so are you guys ready to announce when's your breakfast?
Well, we are. Actually, the breakfast is going to be in June this year, a few months later than we had originally thought, most of the times in the spring. And the reason we did that is we have a really unique speaker. His name is Gregory Boyle. And Gregory wrote a book that's pretty prominent in the nonprofit area, and it's called Tattoos on the Heart. He's out of Los Angeles. He works a lot with gangs, and he created an industry called Homeboy Industry. So he'll be a pretty dynamic speaker, and tickets will go pretty quick.
And a big draw, I'm sure. Do you know where the breakfast is now?
It is. It's at the Woodland Hills Event Center. It's on Houston Levee Road. We've had it there for the last several years. They do a great job, and it'll be in the morning from 8:30, and only a 2-hour window, but a lot of packs into that 2 hours.
I bet it does. Okay, so it's June 11th.
June 11th.
And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $60 a piece.
And where do you get tickets?
Well, our website. You can go on our website and order them today. Or you could call us at our number. It's 901-272-3700.
Oh, my gracious. Well, I think I know where I'm having breakfast on June 11th. So that sounds wonderful. It really does. So that's probably your biggest fundraiser. You have other ways of raising dollars too.
We do. We have a golf tournament in the fall, and so we've got various special events. Actually, our funding is in what I call 4 buckets. One is with individual donations, and the other one is with churches. Sometimes churches will put us in their budget. Then some grants, and then the special events. So we have all 4 of those combined.
Working together in order to turn this out. I would think that's a huge impact on the community financially, as you described earlier, but there are other benefits to the community as well. Talk about some of those. What else do you see happening for the community because of your program?
Okay.
One of the things that, as we mentioned about the various speakers we've had for the breakfast, a number of the people who come there are not in the program itself, but their children get exposed. I mean, can you imagine hearing someone listen to Dr. Carson talk about what he went through as a child?
Oh my.
You know, it's very inspiring. Or to hear Lucille O'Neill talk about Shaq coming up as a child, the problems he had to go through, that type thing. And it helped to get those children to think about their role in life. So we really impact the community a lot more than you would think from the standpoint of inspiration.
Well, I've heard you guys use, and in the piece earlier, I heard the term used, transformational. So this is really a transformational program, isn't it? The students that come out, they remember you as well. You actually have alumni.
We do. We have alumni. That's one of the nice things about the program, and maybe what differentiates us is the fact once you're a HopeWorks graduate, you have several things going for you. One is you have a lifetime commitment to counseling. So we have trained counselors, licensed counselors on our staff. So if you get in trouble with the job or any other issue, then you have counseling. And then you've got kind of a safety net. We've had over 1,000 graduates in our program. And so the alumni allow us to come back together and to just go through life.
I am so completely amazed at the work that you do, and I want to thank you both for being with us today. I want to wish you all the best, and I want to thank you for the excellent contribution you're making to our area, to our community. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us today for Inspiring Leaders. We appreciate our guest on today's show, Ron Wade, Executive Director, and Purcell Duquette, Board Member of HopeWorks. Now, if what you've heard on our program today has inspired you to become more involved with HopeWorks, then please visit their website, whyhopeworks.org. If you're interested in the air dates of Inspiring Leaders, or if you'd like to hear our station's complete programming guide, you can visit GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting our website. We hope you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Thank you for joining us. Be sure and watch our show again next month, Inspiring Leaders.